Howdy mates, good late morning. How are we all doing? It is Sunday, April 2nd, 2023, and you could say this is my first new video for the month of April. And it's that time of year now where spring is finally set in a little bit. It's gonna warm up and we're gonna start seeing more blooms. You know, especially coming from our flowers. However, though, this video is dedicating to more invasive plants that are found in Florida. But where I forgot to mention is I am at the Rye Preserve, which is based in Manatee County, near the town of Parrish. Now, ironically, a lot of perishables are grown in Parrish. Little play on words. Anyway, I digress. Let's get to it. Alright, so noticeably as I was walking by this little tributary here that will feed into the Manatee River, I found this guy right here. Here we've got the Oriental False Hawksbeard, which is also known as Youngia japonica. Now, you can guess, based on the species name, that this most likely comes from Asia, which, as a matter of fact, it does. It comes from parts of Southeast Asia, to be specific. Now, in terms of the full history of how it was brought over here, I couldn't really find much on that, but it was most likely brought over for ornamental purpose. Now, I believe they are a distant cousin of our dandelions. They look a little similar, but of course the difference is with dandelions, they produce much larger flowers. Now, the thing is, what's also ironic, I know there's a lot of emphasis on dandelions, but I have been under the impression that dandelions are also a non-native too. And they're very common, of course, in our lawns. So it's really one of those deals where, you know, for those of us who have land and can actually do something with it, we really should incorporate native plants instead. Now, granted, where I live, we rent, so it's one of those things where I really wish I could do more with it, you know, in terms of like gardening and whatnot, but I really don't have that option, I'm afraid. But anyway, they do belong under the aster family, so they are related to, say, our sunflowers, for example. Asters is a very large group of plants that have several different genuses. Now, even though it's a non-native, it is not necessarily considered an invasive, but it's probably only a matter of time before it will be. So yes, I'm sure a lot of you have actually seen these before. They usually do appear in clusters. But the next plant that I wanted to point out with you guys is right here. The Two-Leaf Nightshade, also known as Solanus diphilus. I believe that's the scientific name. Now under that genus name is where we get a lot of our common tomatoes and whatnot. Now, the thing is, this is also a non-native. But unfortunately, this is considered a Category 2 invasive. And for same reasons, it was brought over for ornamental purpose. And it's originally native to parts of Mexico and even Costa Rica on the Pacific side. And funny thing, I actually think I do recall seeing these in Costa Rica. But you can see that they actually do produce a very gorgeous inflorescence For those of you not familiar with that term, inflorescence refers to the entire flower arrangement. But just based on the 5 petals, and then you see those yellow anthers, I can definitely tell that this is a nightshade. And they're like a shrub, basically. And for another, I'm sure you've already noticed, they do produce these fruits that look actually very similar to tomatoes. But the thing is, you don't want to eat them. They are apparently known to contain a toxin called glycosides, which can basically disrupt your digestive system. So it can cause vomiting and even anorexia. So, in other words, this is something you really want to avoid. Now, they call it two-leaf because on each bundle, you have a simple arrangement of 2 different leaves. You have the big one, and then you have the small one. And it simply repeats throughout the stem. Now, in terms of management, it's one of those things you want to remove them if you can before they start producing their fruits. Because, of course, the fruits contain the seeds. But in terms of, like, whether there's a chemical treatment for it, according to the University of Florida extension, it really doesn't seem to be a found method yet for chemical treatment. So it's one of those things where more tests have to be done on that matter in order for them to progress with a particular method. So, alright. Thank you guys for watching. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and Journey on a Journey is onwards. Take care, folks. See ya.